Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream by China Admissions. We are live here on Instagram and on YouTube as well. So if you see me checking between two different screens, you know why. I'm checking onto two different live streams at the same time. So we haven't had a live stream in a while, and a lot of you are more so in the process. If you are applying for the 2023 application, you're getting enrolled into the university. So we did a bunch of different videos and live streams about the enrollment process. But now we're back to the 2024 applications. So the today's live stream topic is the fact that it's open for 2024 if you want to apply. So if you guys are planning on applying for the 2024 intake, you can start that application now already. We're going to go into the most commonly applied to programs and which ones are available, if they have a March intake and if they have a September intake. If you have any questions regarding the 2024 intake, please leave the questions down below. Just keep in mind, again, for scholarship students, we don't assist with scholarship applications. So if you want to apply for a scholarship, that's fine, but you just need to check with the university, check what scholarships they have available, and you'll have to apply for the scholarship yourself. We can only assist students that are fully self-funded. Okay, getting that out of the way, let's go into the 2024 intake. So as you guys know, in certain countries, it's more common to have a March intake, and in some countries, it's more common to have a September intake. China is one of the countries where it's more common to have a September intake. So most of the programs are available for the September intake. But this doesn't mean that you should start applying a month before September, because a lot of the deadlines are actually much earlier for the September intake. So let's get into all of that. We often have some students that come from countries where a March intake is more common, asking if there is a March intake that they can apply to. In some cases, yes. However, just keep in mind that there is very limited possibilities then. So if you want to have the most variety for your application process, I do recommend waiting a semester and applying for the September intake. So, like for me, for example, I'm a South African, and usually we have a March intake. So, what I did is I did a Chinese language program that started in March, and I did that for a semester, and then I started my degree in September. So, I used my time in that way. But let's get into the programs that are available. So, our most commonly applied to programs are MBBS programs, which that's a bachelor's in medicine, if you didn't know. And then also MBA programs are very popular as well. And also, of course, non-degree programs like Chinese language programs. These are often either one semester or 2 semesters. So let's start with the Chinese language programs, because there are a lot of Chinese language programs available for the March intake, and those are open now. Their deadlines are actually not that far away. So if you're planning to apply to study a Chinese language program in March of next year, you should definitely start your application as soon as possible. So let's go into the Chinese language programs that do have a March intake. So let me quickly go to our list over here. So we have Zhejiang University of Science and Technology. They have a 1 to 2 semester program available. That's in Hangzhou. Definitely recommend them. They have great teachers. Then we also have another great one, Beijing Institute of Technology. Their deadline is in December. Then we have Harbin Institute of Technology, also great. Their deadline is in January. Wuhan University, their deadline is in January as well. University of Science and Technology Beijing, their deadline is in December. Beijing Film Academy, their deadline is in January. University of International Business and Economics, their deadline is in December. And there's a couple more, like East China University of Science and Technology, Central China Normal University, Tianjin University, Dongbei University of Finance and Economics. So there are quite a few options when it comes to a Chinese language program. So if you are interested, you've seen that a lot of the deadlines are in December, but some of your maybe the program that you're most interested in has a deadline in November. It's September now, so maybe you're thinking, oh, I still have like 3 months to apply. But in some countries, the paperwork that you need to apply for, if you need to apply for a passport, you need to apply for a police clearance, you need to get a medical certificate, that can take a couple of months to get. Even in South Africa, it takes about a month to 2 months to get your passport. So you can't start your application before you have a passport. So if you are planning on applying, you do need to apply as soon as possible. And you can apply early and get your acceptance early as well, so that you don't have to worry about it later on. So if you are planning on applying for March intake, please do so as soon as possible. You can go on to chinaadmissions.com and you can just search for Chinese language program, and then you can apply there. So it's also going to be linked below on our YouTube live stream, or you can just Google chinaadmissions.com as well. So the other program, and also just leave any questions you have regarding the programs below. I will get to them just after I go over these programs, and then I'll answer any questions you have. So then the other program that's very, very popular is a Bachelor in Medicine, also called an MBBS. So for the March intake, there aren't currently any March intake MBBS programs. So if you wanted to apply for an MBBS, then you're going to have to wait until September to get into university to start studying. There are still 2 universities that are currently open for 2023 intake, and that is Guangzhou Medical University and Hebei Medical University. So if you are still wanting to apply for the 2023 intake, you can start that as soon as possible, like right now. Go start that. Those are the only 2 options available. Their deadlines are in October, and one of them is the 1st of October, and the other is the end of October, the 31st of October. And also your classes will start in November, December. So you have a later start date because it has a later application deadline. So the popular programs that people like to apply for the September intake is Shantou University Medical College. Their deadline is in May. Tongji University, their deadline is in April. Shandong University, their deadline is in June. Ningbo University, the deadline is in August, a little bit later. Huazhong University of Science and Technology, otherwise known as HUST, June. Dalian Medical University, also in June. Jiangsu University, their deadline is in March. So for the September intake, their deadline is in March. So some of these programs, you really do need to keep an eye on the deadlines. We get people asking to apply in August, and then there's not a lot of availability left. And also, the earlier you apply, the better your chances are of getting accepted into the university, as the university accepts students on a rolling basis. So if you have less people applying at the same time that you're applying, you have a much higher chance of getting accepted. They'll also have the most places open, availability to place students. And towards the end of the program, they might have enough students and they can't take any more students and close early. So just keep this in mind. Then we have another one that's very popular, Hainan Medical University. However, if you want to apply to Hainan Medical University, you do need to already have an HSK3. So just keep this in mind. Most people that try to apply for this through us don't have the HSK3 and usually have to switch to applying to a different program. So if you do have that and you want to apply to them, that's great, but just keep that in mind. Another one that's very popular, Xi'an Jiaotong University in July, Wuhan University in June, Zhejiang University, their deadline is in February. Fudan University, their deadline's in March. So yes, you can see there's a bunch of different programs that you can apply for, and they have very different deadlines. So just keep this in mind with your programs. Then the other one that's also super popular to apply to is the MBA program. Now, for the MBA program, there is only one university that offers a March intake, and that is Jiangsu University. So they're open for application. If you wanted to apply for their MBA program, you can do that now. But for all the other universities, and definitely the universities that are very popular for for MBA applications, those start in September. So Fudan MIT, their collaboration, they have an international MBA. And that deadline is in April. Then you have Tsinghua University, their deadline is in April as well. Shandong University, the deadline is in June. Beijing Institute of Technology, their deadline is in June. China Europe International Business School in Shanghai, also very top ranked and a lot of people apply to this one. Their deadline is in May. So you can see that there are quite a lot of different options here. And also just keep in mind that the top four universities in China, which would be Tsinghua, Peking, Fudan, and Shanghai Jiao Tong University, their deadlines are earlier than the other universities. And they will often have multiple rounds of deadlines. And it's better to try and get into the first round, which would start approximately now. So that means you need to get your applications in now, and that gives you the best chance of getting accepted. Also, keep in mind that the top four universities have much higher tuition fees. So a lot of students try to apply for these and are quite shocked at the different prices, since these are public schools, and usually public universities in China have a certain, are quite lower in, like low in price. But these top universities, because they're so highly ranked and competitive and have so many students applying to them, they have their tuition fees are much higher. So just keep this in mind. Okay, so if you have any questions and you've left them down below, I will now read over any of the questions and answer your questions. If you have any questions regarding the application process for 2024, please leave them down below. Okay, so let's start on YouTube because we have quite a few. So Nuruddin asks, how can I apply? You can apply on China admissions to the for the university program just by Googling China admissions, or if you're here on the YouTube live stream, so you can just go onto our video description, click on the link that we have, and start that. If you're looking for scholarship applications, that you'll have to check to see which scholarships are available, which ones you want to apply for, and what the application process is, because we don't assist with that. Okay. Kafa Hassan asks, can I apply without proof of English fluency? So if you come from one of 7 countries, you don't need to provide an English language certificate. These 7 countries are classified by China as native English speaking countries. So this is the US, Canada, the UK, Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa. So if you come from those, then you don't need to have English, proof of English literacy, so an English language certificate. If you come from a country where you were taught in English, let's say you come from Botswana and you were taught in English, but you're not one of those 7 countries. You just need to have a letter from your high school or your university stating that your education was taught in English. Then you can use that as your English language certificate. If your previous education was not taught in English either, then you need to write the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. So you need to have a valid TOEFL or IELTS exam. It can't be 4 years old. It has to be done within 2 years of application. And then there are some universities that accept the Duolingo English language certificate, like Jiangsu University, but not many universities accept it. So I would very much caution you, before you spend money on taking this test, please check with the university that you're applying to that this is actually okay for applying there. Peekaboo says, Jayo. Yes, Jayo to everyone who is applying. Good luck, you can do it. Okay, so Saeed says, okay, this is a special case. Her daughter is Pakistani, but she has a Chinese national of Hong Kong, so I'm guessing she's got a Hong Kong passport. And she's got issues with applying to Chinese universities. Yes, okay. So this is a bit of an issue. Every now and then, there's a student that applies that has a Hong Kong passport, Taiwanese passport, and or like a Macau passport, or their parents were mainland Chinese, and they then moved to a different country, and let's say they were born in the US. Their parents still have their Chinese passports. In that case, you cannot apply as an international student. You will have to write the Gaokao and apply as a Chinese student if you want to apply to a Chinese university. These are the rules that the government has given the universities for accepting students where their ancestry or their parents had these passports, or they might have the nationalities as well. For if she has a Hong Kong residency, Hong Kong passport, residency, I don't think that that's an issue. Passport, she can apply as a Hong Kong citizen, or like for as Hong Kong students, she can use her grades to apply through that, but it's not the same as applying for an international, being an international student. I would mostly just send an email to the university directly and ask them about your daughter's case and see what happens, because again, like this is, they have very specific rules. Even if your parents, let's say your parents immigrated to the US and they even gave up their passports, they still have to have given up their hukou as well, and they also had to have given everything up for, I think, a minimum of 5 years before your application date to for you to be qualified as an international student. So this is a very tough situation, and it's obviously because it's very difficult. It's very competitive for Chinese people to get into the universities in China, so they want to make sure that nobody goes through loopholes and tries to apply as an international student. So again, there's not much that we can do in that situation. My best advice is to contact the university directly about her situation to see if she can apply or how she can apply. Okay, Eileen Morse asks about the Fudan Chinese language program and their deadline for the spring semester. So yes, they do have a spring intake for their Chinese language program, and you can already start applying. So I would just start that application process as soon as possible. Let me check over here to see exactly the deadline for that. It seems from here that there isn't a spring intake, a March intake for the Fudan Chinese language program. Yes, I also did mention this before. I had an email with another student regarding this. We used to have that on our website. We've taken it down since we've checked also on the Fudan University website, and they no longer offer it. So they don't offer a spring intake anymore. But there are also a lot of other options for applying for um, a spring intake Chinese language program. Okay, so from there, that seems to be the non-repeated questions. So let me go on to Instagram as well for some of the questions. How much are living expenses? Asks Kalash. Okay, so for living expenses, this varies greatly on where you decide to study. If you're going to study in one of the top tier cities, the biggest cities, so the top four would be Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen. They have the highest living expenses. So, especially Shanghai, I think Shanghai is the highest one. So, it's definitely going to be a lot more expensive for getting rent, especially in certain areas like close to the universities, and also food expenses, those kind of things. Transportation expenses are more expensive. Definitely, still for some people that comes from certain countries where their currency is stronger than the RMB, it might still be very, very affordable. But it's very different, you know, studying in Hangzhou, Suzhou, or in Zhongshan versus studying in Shanghai. So just keep this in mind. You can very often look up on different websites to see what the breadbasket price is. So the basic prices of renting, the basic prices of food, the basic prices of certain products, basic prices of schools and stuff like that. You can look that up very easily on the internet to see which program, maybe this will influence where you want to study. Maybe you want to study in a place that's more affordable. So just keep this in mind. It is suited. You need to decide where you need to go. Is there an age limit for short-term scholarship programs? So I mentioned before that there aren't really scholarship opportunities for short-term programs like Chinese language programs. Someone did correct me though and said that they were able to get a scholarship for a short-term language program. However, I'm really not sure where they applied for this. You can try and see and look it up on the internet to see what kind of programs are available for you to apply for, if there are scholarship opportunities, and you can apply for those. There are very limited to none of those as far as I am concerned. Maybe not none, just very limited, but do check it out and see if there's something you can apply to. You should definitely do that. And age limits, there might be an age limit, but usually for short-term programs, there's not as strict of an age limit as there is for bachelor's programs, and especially for medicine, Bachelor of Medicine programs. Okay, that seems to be it for there. Okay, so that seems to be most of the questions. So if you guys are wanting to apply for the 2024 intake, please go to chinaadmissions.com and search for the program that you are interested in and start your application as soon as possible. You will click on the apply button on the program page, and you will start your China admissions profile and be asked to fill in the information needed and upload your documents. Once you've done that, you can pay the application fee, send us the proof of payment via email, and then we'll start reviewing your documents and we will start processing everything. And if the university is already open, they have their online application open, then we will start submitting it to the university immediately. It was great talking to you guys, and please leave any comments down below. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at China Admissions, apply at chinaadmissions.com. And I'll see you guys in the next live stream.